All right, good morning, folks. Welcome to the school board workshop. I'm showing 9 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. And first order of business is call to order, and then we have approval of the agenda. And at this time, we have no changes to the agenda. We have no recognitions. But on 4.1, we do have the appointment of a specialist for math recommended by the superintendent. Section 5, that will be agenda items, public comment. Section 6 will be in-county travel for July, and 6.2 will be out-of-county travel for July. And then we move into the consent. 7.1 is approval. 7.2 is approval of the minutes of the special meeting of August the 11th, 2025, minutes of the workshop meeting of August the 11th, 2025, minutes of the regular meeting of August the 11th, 2025, all recommended by Superintendent Chambers. 7.3 is appropriation of District 3 School Board member capital outlay funds to Shoal River Middle School for painting of the front offices in the amount of $3,500, presented by Ms. Linda Vanchek and recommended by the superintendent. 7.4 is the appropriation of District 4 School Board member capital outlay funds to Shoal River Middle School for painting in the front offices in the amount of $3,500, presented by Mr. Tim Bryant and recommended by the superintendent.
Chairman, can I comment on that? First of all, Ms. Vanchek, thank you for your contribution. And they actually had this done, so it actually looks really nice up there.
Oh, good, good.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad to help.
Yep.
Okay. All right, 7.5 will be invoices to be approved for payment by Ms. Perry, recommended by the superintendent. 7.6 will be school donations presented by Ms. Perry, recommended by the superintendent.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
just
sir,
like
Mr.
to
Hyde.
point out, year to
Yep.
date is now at $124,840. Great start
Yep. Rising.
from our community.
Yeah. All right, 7.7, payroll warrant register and accounts payable warrant register totaling $3,503,301.28. Self-health insurance claims and fees totaling $3,666,780.70, and bank transfers totaling $10 million for July 2025, presented by Ms. Perry and recommended by the superintendent. 7.8 is renewal of investment advisory services portfolio management agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County and FAI Capital Management, presented by Ms. Perry and recommended by the superintendent. 7.9, revived fiscal year 25-26 child care fees for Edwards Elementary, presented by Ms. Perry and recommended by the superintendent. 7.10, Bank of America Banking Services Fee Agreement, presented by Ms. Perry and recommended by the superintendent.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have a question on that one,
All right.
probably for Mr. McGinnis. But so it's a 5-year fee agreement, pretty standard. And I see in there we can, either side can get out of it with 30 days notice. But there's also in there it says we can immediately get out of it for cause.
Yeah, and the term of that was put in because they are agreeing to, as I understand it from finance, lock down some rates for us so that we get a better service rate. So that was why the term was put at that level.
What would cause be when it says we can immediately get out of it?
It'd be a failure to perform under the terms of the contract, anything that the bank had an obligation to do. If they did not do that and didn't get it cured within a time frame, that would be cause.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Hiley. All right, so 7.11 is amendment to agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County and KEV Group, presented by Ms. Perry and recommended by the superintendent. 7.12, Sole Source number 26-03 IXL Learning, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.13, Sole Source number 26-01 Everway, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.14, ITB 26-01 Crestview High Auto Lab Remodel Phase 2, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent.
Dr. White.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Superintendent, for this particular item. If you have never been to the Crestview Auto Lab, it is a functioning auto service center. So this is definitely going to enhance it even more. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you, sir. All right, so 7.15, Services Agreement 26-78, Gary Wright, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.16, Renewal of Fuel Purchasing Agreement between the Baker Fire District and the School Board of Okaloosa, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.17, Amendment Number 1 to Affiliation Agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa and North Florida Division 1 to include the addition of an RN program as part of the agreement, presented by Mr. John Williams, Director, Okaloosa Technical College, and recommended by the superintendent. 7.18, Amendment to Number 1 to Affiliation Agreement between the School Board and Crestview Hospital Company, presented by Mr. John Williams, Director, Okaloosa Technical College, and recommended by the superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, I have a
Yes, sir.
question on that one.
All right?
So that's between the Crestview Hospital Company, and I see that the budget, the fiscal impact is 0. So they're doing this just to help bring these students coming in and talk about, you know, I mean, that's a great deal. I want to give kudos to Crestview Hospital Company if that's what's happening.
Superintendent, I see Mr. Williams is in the
Absolutely.
audience.
Please come forward.
All right. Welcome, Mr. Williams.
Hey, how are you? Good morning.
Sounds like you cut another good deal.
Yes, we try to as much as possible. Yeah, those are going to be agreements with our nursing program. So let's see.
So 7.18.
Right. So on 7.18, we're just amending that agreement. Don't have that one right here in front of me at the moment.
Mr. Williams, this
Yeah.
allows the students to go into this hospital and work with work in the hospital, kind of like what do you call it, interning?
It should be, yes,
Yeah, that-
for all of our clinicals.
That's correct, and Mr. Hiley, it is a clinical internship arrangement. It benefits the hospitals by letting these nurses complete their education so they can get out into the market and the workforce. So that's why these agreements are written this way. It's mutually beneficial to the district, the student, and the hospital.
And I know they're not a teaching hospital, but they don't have to do this. And I wanted it out in the public.
Correct.
that We appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Very much, and we need them badly to take us in, so we're very grateful for that.
Okay.
And
Thank
Mr.
you.
Williams, I'll just say, when I first saw this, I was, actually surprised and interested and glad, because this says a registered nurse program,
That's right.
and that's a pretty high order. So that's,
And that's what was throwing me off. That was the previous one, and the second one doesn't say the RN, but that's what we're adding to. And right now, we're amending those agreements that we already had for our LPN program.
Yeah.
And so as we amend those to include the RN program, we're applying to the Board of Nursing to have an RN program. So,
yeah, that would be awesome.
yeah, and it'd be a
We
real
need
good
those-
bridge from our current LPNs.
Right.
They can come back and finish that up.
Yeah, at
so.
a higher level, and that's a great thing for our students and for our community.
Yes, sir. They're already knocking on the door, so.
Good.
Don't let them hire them yet.
Well, at North Okaloosa Medical Center, you're talking about nurses. They had a big sign out there that says hiring nurses.
Yes, sir.
And Dr. White,
Yep.
just as a note for the board, as we know, the nursing industry is in need of nurses. So with the addition of the RN, but you go all the way back to the high school programs that we have, the south end of the county and at Crestview High School. So now it's a high school to LPN to RN pipeline. So trying to do our part for this industry.
Very good. Thank you for doing that, Mr. Williams. All right, so that takes us to, I guess that's 19, yeah, because we backed up one. All right, 7.19, K-12 Comprehensive Evidence-Based Reading Plan for the 25-26 school year by Ms. Amy Dell, Director, and recommended by the Superintendent. 7.20, Amendment to Full Services Schools Contract between the Department of Health and Okaloosa County School Board and the School Board of Okaloosa County, submitted by Ms. Terry Schroeder and recommended by the Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yep.
think the verbiage,
Yep.
the first school board should be struck.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Okaloosa County only, yeah.
The health, yeah.
All right, Miss Mary, can you take care of that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Heinley. You were more polite than I was. All right, 7.21, listing agreement between the commercial property between the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida and RE/MAX Agency 1 for the sale of real property located on Hill Avenue and Lovejoy Road, Fort Walton Beach, Florida, presented by Dr. Bill Smith, Facilities and Planning, and recommended by the superintendent for approval.
Dr. White, I do
sir.
have a question regarding, Dr. Smith, is this the property that's right by the Okaloosa Academy that's in the back part of?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right? And then the last item.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry
Excuse
on
me,
that.
Yes, ma'am.
But I think we've talked about this before and determined that there's no way our district could use that property for anything that would be of an advantage for us where it's located
That's
is
correct.
why
Not-
we
not
are,
in the,
yeah. Once that changed to the academy, there's not really any need for it, because didn't it have playgrounds and such on it? I don't know, but it's just not anything we can use,
we would not
right?
be using it, yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And so, are we just putting this out for some kind of bid, or I don't see
This
any
is
kind
an
of price?
agreement for the RE/MAX to list this and
Okay.
sell it for us.
So we haven't put an amount, we're just seeing
Correct.
what's gonna, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Terrific, thank you.
And the board might
Well-
remember, we have previously actually put this property out under a sealed bid and did
Okay.
not get any acceptable bids. And so then we put out an RFP for broker services, and the board approved that committee's recommendation of RE/MAX based upon that selection. And we're now just bringing back the listing agreement so that they can move forward marketing the property for us.
Thank you.
And we have
Mr.
appraisals, and all
McKinnon.
those appraisals will be considered in regard to those values.
Yes, sir. And along those lines, this is a listing agreement, but, and you said, and I remember well, that I guess we'll establish a bottom line figure?
Yes, sir.
And then in the case of last time, none of those bids met that figure.
That's correct.
We chose not to sell it.
That's correct.
And I think that's an important point for folks to realize, that just because we list something for sale, if the offer doesn't meet our conditions, we don't have to accept it. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
right?
Right.
All right, very good.
And then the listing is 1.8 right now.
We don't have a figure on it at the moment.
That's what it says in here.
I think that's, yeah, it was appraised at that.
Oh.
And if we can get more, we sure
That's
are gonna
right.
try.
Okay,
That's right.
gotcha.
Good job.
Dr. White, I have a question for you. I know you've got some institutional knowledge, and some of this stuff is before my time on the board, but this piece of property is contiguous with the property that is currently occupied by the academy, right?
Yeah, my raider, I guess. Mr. McInnes can more accurately answer that, I think, Mr. Destin.
Yes, sir, that's correct. It's to the, if you were facing the front of that building, this is to the rear over to the left.
And,
It fronts on Martin Luther King Boulevard.
okay. And the parcel that the academy sits on, is that still titled with the district, or is it?
No, it belongs to them.
It belongs to Raider Group? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I think that street is called Hill, not Martin Luther King. I think Martin Luther King stops up and it turns into Hill.
I think you might be right.
Yeah, it's right there before the intersection of the industrial park.
Thank you.
Yep, those are all good questions. Okay, all right, so let's go on now to 7.22. Approval of Okaloosa County School District bus routes for the 25-26 school year, presented by Mr. Gore for transportation and recommended by the superintendent. All right, that takes us all the way through the consent items and moves us into Section 8, the superintendent's human resources recommendations. 8.1 and 8.2 are both information only. First of all, employees on admin leave, and then deferred retirement option program. 8.3 is an action item, cleared certification requirements and issuance of contracts for the 25-26 school year, presented by Ms. Duron and recommended by the superintendent. 8.4, out-of-field report for the 25-26 school year, presented by Ms. Duron and recommended by the superintendent. 8.5, addendum to the master contract between the School Board of Okaloosa County and the Okaloosa Education staff professionals, presented by Dr. Hale, Assistant Superintendent, and recommended by the Superintendent. 8.6, employment separations, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the Superintendent. 8.7, personnel recommendations, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the Superintendent. 8.8, employee transfers, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the Superintendent. 8.9, employee suspension, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the Superintendent. And also, again, 8.10, employee suspension, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the Superintendent. All right, there are no items on discussion at this time, and that brings us to construction programs representatives business. 10.1 is the status report. Mr. Heinley.
I gave that at the last meeting we had at the last board meeting.
Yes, sir. Quite extensive, by the way, so we'll not have one tonight then.
Correct.
All right. And then that takes us to an action item, 10.2, program number 6, task order number 43, Okaloosa Technical College North Interior Renovation Project, revision of attachment 4 of the GMP by Dr. Smith, Program Director, Facilities Planning, and recommended by the Superintendent.
Dr. White, I
Yes,
have
sir.
a question
Yes, sir.
regarding this particular item. So what I'm seeing here, it looks like we will not actually start classes there until 2026, probably the fall of 2026.
Welcome again, Mr. Meyer.
Thank you, Dr. White. At this time, with the unknowns of construction, it's likely it's going to be August of '26.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Meyer, while you're up there, when are you going to give us an update? Tonight or next meeting? You said you're going to give a little slideshow or something.
On Pineview,
Pineview, right?
later this morning.
Oh, this morning, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
To be announced.
DVD.
All right. All right, folks. That takes us to Mr. Attorney, your business, sir.
No report.
All right. Superintendent. Your turn, sir.
Thank you, Dr. White. School Board, I first wanted to start off talking about VPK. And the state of Florida, they do designations on almost similar to what happens with schools receiving an A, B, C, and so forth. So they do designations. And we have 9 VPK programs here in Okaloosa. And we received, for 7 of our schools, Bob Sykes, Longwood, Mary Esther, Northwood, Riverside, Southside, Walker, Edwins, and STEM. So those are the ones that have the VPK programs. 7 of them received excellent designations, which is the highest that you can receive, and 2 of them received above expectations. The above expectations, Edwins and STEM. So the rest received the highest designation. Now, the state of Florida has put in what I would call rigorous VPK requirements across the state of Florida to ensure, to the best of our ability, that students are prepared once they come into kindergarten. So again, it's just another accolade to the fine work of our teachers, to our principals, of what they're doing. And I think all of us understand the importance of VPK in terms of reading and in terms of early math skills. So again, to have this designation for those 9 schools, just could not be more proud of what they're doing. Also wanted to share, we'll be starting 2 new programs this year. One program will be our Student Ambassador program, and this is going to be with Ms. Demers and Ms. Card. And in essence, it'll be like an internship with those 2, where they'll be able to learn digital media, web design, how things deal with the media in general. And so they'll look to each of our high schools. As you know, our high schools have strong programs in these areas. So this will be an opportunity for students to get even more experience, not only at the school level, but at the district level as well. So this will be a great program. So again, this will be similar to an internship program for our students. And I appreciate Mr. Mers and Mrs. Card coming up with this for an opportunity for our students.
I can't even tell you how excited I am about this. As a former journalism media teacher for 100 years, I tell you what, it just makes me want to go back to the classroom. I'm so excited about that. But I don't think it even barely came through the email thing, and I bounced on it back to Ms. Card and said, "Oh my goodness, Linda E's all happy about this." She goes, "I thought you might be." So, yeah, this is fabulous, and I'm excited. Like you said, we've had some good journalism programs over the years, and beyond that, I just think we certainly live in a time of all kinds of media and letting these students represent their schools, but also learning the accountability as a journalist, and also the impact of what you say and social media and all that. It's just so relevant to the time we live. So can't wait to see what these students come up with. I know it's going to be fabulous. So kudos to Ms. Card and Ms. Demers. She might remember along the way when Miss E was over there in her journalism program. So there you go.
I appreciate those comments. Also, we'll be starting a Champions of Education, and this will be similar to Eglin Air Force Base, Hurlburt, when they have the program where the civilians can come and be honorary commanders. Mm-hmm. So we'll have a small group of about 15 or less folks from the community that will be a part of this first annual Champions of Education. And in essence, what it's going to do is give them a behind-the-scenes look at how Okaloosa County School District works. So we'll talk about our school district in a broad sense on how we do things, but then we'll get specific into the curriculum, the finance, the operations, and so forth. So this will spread out across 4 meetings throughout the year. And I just appreciate Ms. Card getting this set up for us. Again, just trying to be very transparent with the community. And then also there'll be champions for education of what we're trying to do here in Okaloosa. So very, very excited about getting this going. This will start in the September timeframe, and then we have 3 other meetings that'll be scheduled. Some of the meetings will happen here, but then we'll also go to schools as well so they can have an in-depth look at whatever the topic is that we're discussing. They can actually see it in action in our schools as well. So we're excited about that.
Mr. Superintendent, couple questions. How are you picking those people?
So we looked at some community leaders on this first round, those who we believe would have a great impact to share not only with other community leaders, but also their companies as well. So that's what we looked at for this first round, some community leaders and others to take part in this program.
In the honorary commander program on base, if you're a good honorary commander, you ended up getting a ride in an F-15 or F-16. You think we can get these guys a ride in a school bus?
Absolutely.
So the school bus, absolutely.
A new one.
A 27
Brand new
model,
one.
right? A
Yeah.
2701.
Absolutely. And if you remember, even Eglin, Hurlburt, they reach out to specific individuals to be a part of these programs. And so we're doing the same thing, reaching out to some specific individuals on the front side, especially in this first year. We want to see how it goes and then improve upon it going forward. But the vision is, just like the honorary commander program for the military, we want to create that type of vision here with the school district and give that behind the scenes look, and then strengthen it in year 2 and going forward.
You know, you can get the bus and go to each house, and they don't know who the next person is. That'd be fun.
I think it's a
There
great
you go.
idea. I ran the honorary commander for the 53rd Wing for almost 10 years, and we would pick civilian leaders, we'd pick, people in the community, all different branch, lawyers or doctors or teachers or whoever, or just principals at the time when Mr. Chambers did it. But it was to take the community that lived right by the base and put them on the other side of the fence and show them what happened, and vice versa. Those military leaders came and went to Okaloosa Gas or the school system. I think it's a great idea, so I highly support it.
And I appreciate you saying that. And I will say this, we have representation from the North End, Central, South. We have folks who, presidents of college, we have those who own their own businesses, those who are just within businesses. So there's a very diverse group of folks who've been chosen. And Ms. Card's going through, I think, the final acceptance letters. We even have an Okaloosa County Commissioner. But so far, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, about 14 folks. And these individuals are extremely excited about being chosen to be in the first annual group.
So I have another question regarding that. So, and again, people need to understand this is the Okaloosa County School Board up here in the Okaloosa County School District. Will there be an honorary school board person?
You're trying to get in on it, Tim.
No. What I'm saying is having somebody, understand what we do up here, being an honorary school board member.
Yeah, that'd be good.
No, that's a great point. I'll talk with Mrs. Card and what we might do, because there'll be 4 meetings, is even potentially have a school board member. I know there's 5, so we'll have to talk to Mr. Bryant about, Mr. McGinnis about if there's 2 at a meeting. Because definitely want them to have a great view of everything that happens within the school district.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. So this is I would call I'd call a serious topic, but I want to bring this out, okay? And when you're looking at enrollment numbers across the state of Florida, I think enrollment numbers in not all school districts, but I think a large number of school districts across the state of Florida, enrollment numbers are going down, and it shouldn't be a surprise because family empowerment scholarships are going up. And so when you look at that as a school district, and just take you back several years ago, and I can say when I was a principal, when we did FTE projections for schools, and then the person who oversaw it for the school district, we would literally, and Dr. White would know this well, we would literally be a handful to the good or down. It was a science being able to predict your FTE projections. Now, when you look at today's state of education, and I don't mean that in a negative way, when you look at where we are with family empowerment scholarships, knowing who's going to attend public schools is not a science anymore. If you go back to last year when we did our FTE projections for this upcoming year, the state of Florida said we would be down, and this is broad numbers, about 450 to 500 students. And that's how we're funded, as you know. When you look at where we are right now as a school district, we're down approximately another 500 from that projection. But that is not FTE. We're going to get to that in a second. That's not FTE, okay? And so when you look at where these numbers fall, the majority of these numbers fall at the elementary level. And specifically, even more so, at the kindergarten level. So as a reminder, families have the ability, and it's sent to them on their FSA reports, the assessment that comes back that says you have the ability to take a family empowerment scholarship. So families who want to do private school have the ability to take a check to go towards that family empowerment scholarship, going towards that private school. So do homeschool families. And so when you look at our warm body count, last year, this year, we're about 654 students down, warm body count, okay? When you talk to Wendy about that, because FTE at the high school level is not a student. At the elementary level, it's a student. At the middle school level, in essence, it's a student. But at the high school level, one FTE doesn't account for one body, okay? So we believe when all is said and done at the end of this year, when we go through the October count, when we go through the February count, we'll be about 233 students down, okay? Now, for us, as you know, we're in a strong financial position in terms of financial stability of a school district. In terms of financial stability as a school district. I'm not talking about all the funds that come in that allow you to purchase things or do raises. I'm just talking about when a financial agency looks at a school district, we're a healthy school district financially, okay? So Julie's already set aside FTE dollars to be able to account for anything that we would have to pay back, just like other districts across the state of Florida. We'll have to pay back anything lower than their FTE projection. I say all that to say, when you look at family empowerment scholarships and how they're impacting schools, and when you look at enrollment that starts to go down, you'll have to start making some tough decisions. And I don't have anything specific to say right now, but I will say that as a senior staff, we discuss enrollment, we discuss capacity. So even with being down in enrollment right now, our buildings are still either at, in many, or above capacity, even with a decline in enrollment. As you know, the goal is to not have portables on our campuses. Now, I'll say we'll probably always have portables on our campuses, but the goal would be where it was about 150 in terms of portables to come down as close to zero as you can get, but that'll be over a series of years, okay? So this is something that we absolutely pay attention to. So when you look at enrollment, and then you look at, for example, the North End. North End, as you know, they're building all over the place. When you look at the central part of the county, they're building, but not to the extent of as the North End. And the South End, they're building, but it's more about knocking down homes and rebuilding homes. And I'm talking just in a broad sense. So paying very close attention to our enrollment. We are discussing options. We are discussing things that we might do in the future. By the future, this could be 2 years out. It could be 3 years out. But I think enrollment in the day and age of family empowerment scholarships, this is something that that we're going to have to look at and pay very close attention to, or I should say continue to pay very close attention to, okay? Going to the north end of the county, we know when you look at our elementary schools, even today, they're definitely at or above capacity. Our two middle schools at the north end of the county, two large middle schools that are up there. And with that being stated, unless there's a comment based on what I just said, we are going to have Mr. Meyer give an update on Pineview. And we're going to have Mr. Spolsky also talk about the zoning that's going to occur as well.
I do have one question on the 233 down on FTE. Are we kind of just flying in the dark on, this is kind of new in the future, or do we have some kind of formula to maybe predict in the next, I don't know, even up to 5 years of where that trend might be? Because that empowerment scholarship isn't going away.
Yep.
So is there any way to do that, or are we just going to kind of have to, you know, how are you on the district side predicting what will happen? You got this year pretty well down. What about the next year? What are you thinking?
So I'm going to go simplistic here for a second.
Yeah.
So prior to family empowerment scholarships, you in essence would take your kindergarten enrollment, you'd move that up to first grade. So you kind of have an understanding of what your first grade is going to look like. Mm-hmm. And then simplistically, every grade level bumps up. At the high school level, a student equates for approximately 0.93, 0.92 of a student. Mm-hmm. So you, in essence, you could look at that historical line and you could take that into account to get your high school numbers as well. So you were able to get to a very close number of what your FTE projections were going to be. I'm stating that simplistically, okay? Right. Now, when you throw in family empowerment scholarships, and remember, of the 2,600 kids who will receive a family empowerment scholarship, the vast majority of them never attended Okaloosa County schools. But now when, and again, I don't mean it in a negative way, when the state markets to our families that you can have this family empowerment scholarship, the thing that we do know is it's impacting us more at the elementary level. The thing that we do know is it's impacting us more at the kindergarten level. So to have a formula for that, I do not know of a formula, but the formula that I do know is what Mr. Spolsky's charged with. And it's making sure that we look at our numbers when in the February timeframe, when we start going through the process of registration, he is tasked with looking at allocations. And he works with Ms. Perry. And we make sure that we have going into the allocation process, we know, are we going to go up this many or are we going to go down this many? And if we go down this many, that's not about cutting teachers. It's about this many less allocations that we would go out with. As you know, in our county, we normally hire about 200 plus teachers every year. And now through Mr. Spolsky, Ms. Perry, Dr. Hale, looking at those allocations, where let's just say hypothetically it was 200 that we were going to hire, we might hire 150. So, you know, all of this also impacts budgets, not just here in Okaloosa, across the state. It impacts decisions as well. When over $20 million goes to family empowerment scholarships in Okaloosa, so you can take that to other school districts, and when the vast majority of those kids never were coming to our schools, this is why we advocate that the family empowerment scholarships be funded outside of the formula that comes to schools. So we'll continue to push that. If it was funded as though it was its own school for the state of Florida, and then we still received our dollars, so to speak, we believe, as well as many others, that that might be a better way to fund public schools. But we definitely work with our local legislators and others who've been great to us. But it's something that we have to continue to keep an eye on for Okaloosa.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Dr. White, I have a question for the superintendent. So I knew the answer to the one question I was going to ask you, which was kindergarten. I knew kindergarten was the one that was impacted the most. But in a time in our society now, how much of that would be to the demographics where families just aren't having kids? We just don't have kids coming into the system.
So I think there's a few factors. So there is potentially that. I think there's the potential for some families who want smaller environments. Some families want a religious environment as well. And again, families in the state of Florida have choice. I support that choice. I'll just say that.
And Superintendent, I have a question, and of course we're talking about educational finance, and there are courses and even degrees offered on that particular topic. But regarding the 233 students, I think you mentioned, is that a budget deficit reduction that we will have to make this year?
It will be.
All right, so that looks like about roughly 1.6 million.
That's pretty good math.
And I think that we've talked about before that I think 87% of these dollars we spend on people.
Correct.
And so are you suggesting that, I guess what I'm asking is, did we account for that 1.6 million deficit, or is that something we're going to have to take out of this year's budget?
So Ms. Perry always sets aside dollars for FTE. So she's always proactive. And thankfully, she's proactive, but it's also something that we talk about, her and myself, as well as our senior staff. As we formulate a budget, we have to be prepared in case numbers don't come to where we would like them to be. So this is something that we've prepared for. Now, it'd be great if we didn't have to use those funds. But even with that, well, I'll just say it's prepared dollars to offset this type of a reduction.
Mr. Superintendent, simplistic, since you use that word. If you wanted the state to pay that family empowerment scholarship separate like their own school, it would be zero change to us because we would still be paying for only the FTEs we only get paid for the FTEs that are coming to this
they're in the seat, right?
So
Correct.
either way, okay. And is it true too that we currently pay employees to help with this Family Empower Scholarship? People come here, so we're bearing the cost of employees right now in the district to take these families and walk them through to get their check to do whatever they want.
So I want to back up. So again, parental choice. So we know that that's happening in Florida. And again, I'm fine with that
Me too.
and support the parental choice. But let's just say that if there's 2,400 students, and let's just say that 2,000 of them are not our kids, and that's not the exact number, okay? And let's just say that that 2,000 times 9,000 is 18 million. 18 million, if this was their own school and the state of Florida funded that, 18 million still has the ability, before family empowerment scholarships, to still come to Okaloosa or other school districts.
Okay, I have to think about that. I don't want to waste everyone's time.
I'll just make a quick comment regarding that, Mr. Heinley. It's, if the rules were the same for everybody, I personally, that's my personal thing, is I'm like everybody else probably on the dais here. School choice is something I believe in, but I also believe that the rules aren't the same for everybody. So, and we play on a different playing field. So, and it's a more challenging on our playing field than it is with other entities. So,
Well, it's definitely a challenge because A, we don't know, so we're reacting. Every year we're reacting. And then, and to go back, that we do have employees that actually we pay to help organize this Family Empower Scholarship for parents that are coming here. They're not going to be part of our school district, but they still need help getting that money from the government to do whatever they want with it.
So I would not say that we have just dedicated employees that that's what they do only, but we do have employees that, for example, students with disabilities on the ESC side of the house still have to be able to talk to those families and help them through that process. And then, of course, at the school level, when families come in and supposed to disclose to us that they have a family empowerment scholarship, but they want to take a class or two classes, then there's going through that process with finance, because if they're already receiving the scholarship and they want to take classes in schools as well, then there's a certain portion of the scholarship that then needs to come to the school district.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the state of Florida is working through right now, is ensuring that if they get a family empowerment scholarship, they're not also
Right, double
attending
dip.
public schools as well.
So my whole point was, it's taking money out of our district to go to these individuals' education, wherever it might be. So we have to react to that, and that's the bottom line. But it's also increasing our overhead because we have to have people to help through that process. So, I mean, it's a struggle for the district, especially when you don't know. I mean, it's like being in a business and don't know exactly how much your expenses are or where your revenue's coming in. So, just wanted to make that point, that it's double banging on the district, these scholarships. Saying all that, I agree with school choice and parents' ability to decide where they want to do with their own children. Tough situation for us.
Well, I'll just say this, and the superintendent alluded to this earlier, having been in the position in the past where there was and for lack of a better word, I'll routinize it this way by saying an over-projection, that usually meant that I had to go into the school's master schedule and make adjustments to sections of classes. Do we envision that kind of thing occurring?
So not at this point, but you're exactly correct. So we went through every school's grade level numbers, and you start looking at class size.
Yep.
Because now that's the piece that you also have to look at. Now, I'll say right now, our class sizes are a little higher, but when you start looking at class sizes, and let's just say that hypothetically we were going to reduce numbers. The numbers have to work. The
And they don't
numbers have
fall
to.
evenly
They don't, it doesn't happen all evenly.
in an entire district.
So that was so that's also a challenge as well. I'll take your example back when I'll just go back 15 years ago when schools were site-based, and if you did not meet your FTE projections, then you had to eliminate sections. You had to eliminate numbers. So we had class size at that time, but not at the level that we have it right now. And it doesn't all just work out if there's 400 less students, and that equates to, let's just say, 20 teachers, for example. It doesn't work out that way when class size numbers are a part of it. So it's not a simple fix. If we, let's just say that hypothetically, some would say, well, you should reduce X number of teachers. Okay, well, those class size numbers would be even larger.
Superintendent, we're a little bit in uncharted territory in this whole political science experiment of school choice and then funding with empowerment scholarships. Do we have any sense that some of these students, you mentioned at the kindergarten level, that were being substantially affected? Do we have any sense that they eventually may come back to the public school system? I know this is anecdotal, right? I meet a lot of parents who want to homeschool and like the idea of doing it, but they realize it's more challenging than they anticipated, and they say, well, the money was nice, but I can't be a homeschool parent.
Yep.
Do we have any sense if they come back, or do they stay mostly out of the system?
So I would like to talk in specific facts. I don't have that specific data right here, but what I do know is we do have elementary students who will return to us. And what I know very specifically is at the secondary level, they come back. And at the secondary level, there's less folks taking family empowerment scholarships, as you can imagine, with the extracurriculars, being prepared for college, and having that rigorous coursework, and just the high school experience as well. So,
And why wouldn't they? But when our schools are doing so well at that level, why go to a lesser choice, if you would? So, yeah, I said.
yeah.
I appreciate you bringing up this topic because it's something that we as the board have to strap in and be prepared for, because it's going to be a bumpy ride in the future. As far as I can tell, the legislature, we depend on their allocations to run the school district, but we're going to continue to probably see a prioritization of one system versus ours, and we've got to figure out a way to navigate it. And it's going to put us in some really tough decision-making positions, either with cuts or talking about how we're going to figure out ways to find new revenue. And that's just the reality where it's coming down. I appreciate you, because these are not fun discussions, but this is what's coming down the pike.
And I appreciate you saying that. And everything that I've said here today is not about whining. It's not about complaining. It's just the reality of where we are. As I sit here looking down this board and even to my left, every last one of us either worked in this school district, attended school in the school district, or have children who are in the school district. So families have choices, and that is fine, and they should have choices. But to Mr. Heinley's point, we have a fantastic school district here in Okaloosa County, and we will definitely continue to provide great programs. But what this will do also, it's going to be incumbent upon us to look at what we do at the elementary level as we go into the future. How do we market STEM? How do we market CTE options? The same thing at the secondary level. So it's going to be about providing opportunities for students. It could be about providing a class or two classes for students in the future, for those who maybe don't attend Okaloosa County schools. So again, all of this I don't say this is a negative to the state. I don't say any of this is a negative to families who want to make choices. They should have choices. It's going to be incumbent upon us to continue to do even better. And I'll put Okaloosa teachers, principals up against anybody.
And I'd like to follow up on that, and I'm glad you said that, because in philosophy, I think we've all said we agree, of course, a parent has the right to see the best for their child. However, the practical impact of that is what we're talking about here. And the other thing is that I think for so many, and having been in this school district my life as a student, as a teacher, I think we took for granted, or the public took for granted, that this is just what you did, that Okaloosa was good, you went to school, that's the way it went. This is new territory. But also I think on the district and even the board side, we need to step up our game in promoting the great things that we have. We've started to do that, but I think we need to shout it out much more. In the past, we're a good school district, but I think we need to emphasize really why it'd be so great for you to be a part of our school district and be in our schools. And I think that's on us to make sure that we are getting that word out.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll just put on this last little point. I mean, I've got a penchant for sometimes being a little bit of a negative or a cynic sometimes. I just, and it's just, I think, years of going through, we were in the commercial fishing business. We got thrown out of the commercial fishing business due to regulatory changes. You're in business. You worry about whether or not you're going to have good weather. Is the hurricane going to tear down your restaurant? You're always looking for the boogeyman that's coming down the way. I think I agree completely, Ms. Ivanchek, that we need to continue to promote, because we are in a competition. Marketing plays an important role. That's why Hillary and Catherine are so deeply important, to make sure that we're getting the message out on what we're doing great. But also, I'm concerned that we need to just think that on some timeline, we are a great school district because of our employees. That's the 87% of the money that we're spending. And we have to understand that on some timeline, if we keep going to our great people and say, we don't have any money for raises, you just got to keep eating it, we're going to start losing our talent, which will then send us down this slippery slope, I'm concerned, where we will no longer be able to say that we are a great district in spite of our challenges. So I think we really need to start thinking about some of this stuff, because I can see it. I know we all can, and we're in a weird predicament, but it's just, I have a feeling it's coming, so I'm prepared to have conversations.
Anything further, colleagues, on this topic? All right, Superintendent.
So as you know, we are a year out from Pineview, our new K-8 school. So we're a year out. And with that, there's hiring timelines, there's zoning timelines, and a number of other important items that needs to be done. So with that said, I wanted Mr. Meyer to come forward and kind of share where we are with Pineview. And then I want Mr. Spolsky to come forward and talk about the timelines as they pertain to zoning, hiring, and so forth.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Good morning again, Board.
Good morning.
Excited, as always, to give you guys a briefing on where we're at with Pineview. We're going to focus on some other details other than the construction side, at least from the building standpoint. We've updated you guys and tried to give you guys visuals each time that we come up here. On other notes, so we have done some branding and logos and mascots. So naming the school was one thing, but then coming up with colors and mascots was another. So we're excited to say this is going to be Bear Country. It's the Pineview Bears, and they're purple and white. So as we go through some of the design with the building, we need this information, and when we're branding the athletic spaces, the cafeterias, the front of the school, this will help with this marketing this school. So, Ms. Ivanchek, we're excited about that.
I know, don't y'all love it? Don't you love the bears and the purple?
So my question is
So
that
exciting.
the Pineview name was course, sent out to all the employees to kind of come up with an idea with the name. But the mascot was not part of that. How did the mascot name
So when you put out and ask for information, you get plenty of other opinions as well.
Right.
And the Bears were overwhelmingly the favorite. So we took that in consideration, and we went to Ms. Ivanchek and the superintendent and made that decision. So
I love the bear. Is he a grizzly or is he a black bear? Because I don't think we have
Black.
grizzlies, right? He's
Well,
black
we
bear,
aren't
right?
calling it necessarily black bear, but that's what it would be in our geography up here, so.
that's right. Black bear. And then on the elementary side, we can go with the paw print and the cubs.
And the
So,
Cubs, yeah.
All right.
Okay, and then why the color? If we want to.
Because we don't have purple anywhere else, and we like it.
We do.
Take that kindly.
That's right.
Thank you,
There
Ms.
you go.
Manchek. So a quick update on the construction. It does remain on schedule, so we're pleased with that. All the foundations are done for each of the buildings. The site paving and utility infrastructure, we're going to say are roughly 75% done. And as you see the site there, that was just a few days ago, you can see where those outlines of those buildings and even parking lots are coming into play. The structural framing is underway. The concrete block walls have been going up, but then there's some red iron and other buildings that's coming along. Roof structure has begun on the buildings to the bottom there, the bottom right. That's one classroom wing. The kitchen and the cafetorium do have substantial roofs on there as well. So we're pleased with that, and we're continuing to say that we're going to be done probably towards the end of the summer next year. So we're looking good. Some of the things we wanted to address were utilities and roads, where we're at with those. You guys know that there's other groups that we're relying on as far as construction on the roads and the bridge. A lot of the large HVAC things were long lead items, but they're starting to show up and get in place as well. So Dr. Smith's going to come up and give you guys a briefing on where we're at with that.
Welcome, Dr. Smith.
Thank you. Good morning. I just want to say right off the bat that this is a process that started probably a year and a half ago. We started on these items almost a day after we closed on the property because we knew that there was really not a lot of infrastructure in the location. It was all going to have to be brought to the site. And I'd like to say that the City of Crestview, which is our water and sewer provider, and the Board of County Commissioners, Jason Osry and Carlos Jones from the city, have been great partners. I like to look at the water tank there, which is an easement we gave the city that probably saved us $1 million. They built the water tank. They're bringing the water to the site. We gave them an easement to put the water tank on, no cost to us. At Davidson, at Antioch, at all the prior schools that we've built in the last 30 years, we have had to pay to bring that water and sewer to the site. On this one, we're not paying anything. The water and sewer providers are taking care of that for us because we gave them a place to put some of their equipment. The water tank, the top went up on it last week. It's looking really good. It really first good sight of it above the tree line when the top was put on it. I've never seen that done before, but they actually build it around the bottom and bring it up the shaft. It was kind of cool to watch.
And what does it say on it? I can't see.
It says City of Crestview.
Okay.
Yeah, welcome to Crestview. I saw it on the ground and only saw part of it. I haven't actually seen it since they got it to the very top. But the lift station will actually go on the front right corner of the school. You won't see it. It will all be in the ground. The only thing you'll see is a small generator and a small electrical panel. But it will be a very large hole that it goes in. But that's the second part of what cost us nothing. Reclaimed water and sewer and potable water are all coming down the west side of the bypass. Probably just in the far distance of the picture on the right there. They're bringing it down the left side of the road. The potable water will go to the tank, then from the tank to the school, The sewer and the reclaimed water will come on down to our site. Electrical service, we do have permanent power on the site now. We have 1 transformer on the site. When we're completely finished, there'll be 5 or 6 transformers scattered across the site, but we do have the permanent service to the school. As you can see, we have a cooling tower sitting in place. We also have a generator sitting in place. The generator is not for the school, it's for the emergency lights and for the backup power for the systems that we have that are necessary that we have to run. We have a plug-in system very similar to what we have at Riverside and Riverside for power if we were to have a storm.
Dr. Smith, could I ask you
yes.
something, please?
Yes.
Are we doing anything with solar power?
No.
Okay, thank you. I just thought with a new,
For a system this large, you would need an enormous solar field.
okay.
And Dr. White, if I can ask Dr. Smith.
yeah.
So this school is also a shelter for storms and all that too.
I'm glad you brought that up. When we first closed on the property, we had to work with Okaloosa County EMS. The law basically said we can negotiate an agreement with them that benefits both parties. Like, for instance, they waived all the shelter requirements for as Destin Elementary ever being a shelter, because obviously nobody would ever make a school that close to the coast a shelter. But we took what money we saved there and have put it here to where this could be a shelter, very similar to some of our other schools that we have in the north end of the county. That's been very good to work with, Okaloosa County EMS.
Dr. Smith, you mentioned reclaimed water. That's what we intend to water the ball fields with?
We have 2 choices up there. We're going to bring reclaimed water to the site, but we also have a deep well there. So we actually have 2 choices. We would love to use the reclaimed water. We're also using the reclaimed water at Destin Elementary.
And then you mentioned backup or a shelter site, backup generator.
It'd be a plug-in generator. They come in on a semi and they actually plug in. We have the same thing at Shoal River.
So it's not permanent.
It's not permanently sitting there. As you see, most of the banks around town, when you see a storm coming, a generator will just show up.
Yeah.
Very similar to things, except it's a bigger generator.
Yeah.
They actually come from the oil fields.
Sure.
Semi pulls up. There's cables in there already ready just to plug into the generator and plug into the school, and it furnishes power.
And post-storm, they just run on diesel?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
And we don't have to pay maintenance fees and all those things to keep one sitting there.
No, sir, we don't.
Right,
They're
good.
it's an enormous upkeep on generators.
Right.
They wear out. They actually exercise themselves to death almost.
Even when
And
you don't
plus,
need it.
keeping diesel on site, if you can't get natural gas, the reservoir is so large it becomes a diesel storage facility, so you have to do EPA reports, the whole shooting match.
And do we have a contract with getting those in times of emergency?
We do it through Okaloosa County EMS.
Right. Because if I'm not mistaken, once they're activated as an emergency shelter, the school district is not. It's emergency management services that runs everything.
The operation of it is correct.
Yeah. And fortunately, the last few storms we haven't lost power, so that's been
That's correct.
good. So.
Do you know how, this is a real nuanced question, I don't expect you, do you know how many kilowatts?
How many KW?
Yeah.
Probably in the hundreds.
Okay, thanks.
Very large, like what you would put up with an oil derrick. Natural gas, we've been working with the gas company. They had kind of had to punt. They had originally thought they were going to bring their gas line from the north, which would be bringing it across the new bridge, but they have now decided to come from the south, and they say they will be ready by the end of May. They're going to start laying gas line around the beginning of the year. So we'll have natural gas on the site. Good. Fiber optic cable, we're looking at 2 or 3 different providers. It's basically who can get to us first, because there's nobody out there but us. So that's still kind of up in the air. New roads. We're actually blessed with a fantastic access to the site from 4 different directions. The west connector is already open. It's got lines on it. You can drive on it. The east connector, which goes from the bypass over to around the Starbucks on 85, it is very close. They could probably finish it in a week and open it up. The county is telling me that they will probably open the east-west connector before they open any part of the bypass. The bridge, the north-south part of the bypass, the bridge will probably be ready probably 6 or 8 months before the interstate overpass. So I will see the east-west connector opening, then the northern spur of the bypass opening to 90. It looks like they're down to 1 pour on the bridge. So, and they're already starting the curbs and gutters on the north side of the bridge. So I would expect to see that open a little after the first of the year. So you'll actually have 3 ways in there. And of course, the overpass at the interstate is going to be the last piece that'll be completed.
Yeah, I just saw an update from the Florida Department of Transportation. They're looking to be done in the summer of 2026 now on the interstate overpass. So
We meet with the county. I meet with the county every 2 weeks, and we saw that date too, and it was wondering if they could hit that target. They seem to be farther behind than the other areas. I-10 interchange will be the final piece. We're working with the county. Matter of fact, I've got a meeting with them later today in reference to the turn lanes and the road that actually goes in front of the school, which will eventually wind up being a county road, which will then be turned over to the city probably. And it's been a long journey working with that many entities, trying to get them all on the same page, working to the same place. But the county and the city have been great partners. Any questions?
I'll just make a comment regarding the collaboration. I mean, we just had that with Antioch with their situation and how everybody came together and took a problem and made it not a problem. Actually, it's flowing better than it ever has because everybody came together. So just that one little section that we discussed, I'm sure having the collaboration across that whole spectrum has made it, where everybody can work together and, there's no questions on how we're going to get where and all that. So.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Bryant wandered up on our meeting. We had about 30 people standing out at the new roundabout in front of Antioch 2 days before school started, trying to put the finalized plan together to where we wouldn't have a disaster that we were afraid we were going to have. Any more questions?
Just a statement. Kudos to you there, Dr. Smith and Mr. Myers and Jacob Titan. I used to sit in those meetings every month, and excellent work.
Thank you, Dr. Smith.
A few other items we've been working on. We'll continue with construction. We're going to finalize the furniture and equipment orders. Multiple departments have met with Jacob Titan in plenty of time to order the equipment and furniture that we need. There's different departments that we need their expertise on what to order and how much to order. So those have been going on. We're looking at the date on when we would hire a principal within the next few months. So that schedule is in progress. After that, we're going to need some key administrative support as we get closer to opening the school. So we'll do some administrative hires. And then, of course, in the spring and rolling into next summer, HR will be heavily involved in getting the teachers and staff hired as well. So, and along with communication along the way. So when you look at that timeline, we have less than a year to finish not only construction, but everything else that goes along with opening a new school. So we're in good shape at the moment, and hopefully that it'll progress that way. Any questions for me? And then Mr. Spolsky's going to come up.
Dr. White, I do have one question, not for Mr. Meyer, but I'm going to look over at Mr. Chambers here. So we now know we're the Pineview Bears. And we talk about selling our district and all. Is there plans to do a promotional video for the school announcing the name and everything else that's going to be happening? Do y'all have anything in the works to promote the school visually?
Absolutely. So we have Mr. Mers will be working on such video and such advertising. But I'll also say not only for Pineview, but just for schools in general, but definitely on Pineview. And as Mr. Spolsky comes forward, as he will say, yes, the school has to be constructed. But like we've talked about in our meetings, communication is paramount on how all of this rolls out. I am going to steal one thunder here, is you're going to see in a second, why are we rezoning? Because we're building a new school. So you have to rezone if you're building a new school. But like we've shared with Mr. Spolsky, is communications paramount. Let's be strategic in how we do this. And we know that many will be pleased with the communication, and there could be some who may not. But we will do everything in our power to communicate effectively with all those involved with rezoning.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. I appreciate it. School board, good to see everyone. As Mr. Chambers said, why are we rezoning? And we're rezoning for two reasons. Number one, we're rezoning because of construction, but also because of capacity. And many of our schools, specifically in the north end, are at that 90, 95, 100, 110% capacity already. So it's important, as we venture down our slide here in this journey, we think about how Pineview is going to provide some relief for some of those schools in that north end.
And I'm going to put a pause there. If you remember, before making the decision to do Pineview, what the experts would say is once you get to about 80% capacity at schools, you should start looking at, are you going to build new schools? Off the top of the head, I think every school in Okaloosa besides 3 are well over 80. The vast majority are the 95 to 100 and 100 plus.
Yes, sir. We all know that Pineview will provide outstanding opportunities for our families up there, for our students. It will be a comprehensive K-8 school with electives, filling that 800 to 1,000 band. And as our forecasting and as our boundaries, as all of this unfolds, with COE involved, we'll probably end up with around 900 students at that school. That's our target number right now.
Mr. Spolsky, real quick. Out of that 900, how many would be secondary?
450 to 500 is what we're looking at right now. 450 would be ideal for the public out there, so people can kind of paint that in their minds. So as I mentioned, our elementary schools in the north end are at that capacity and at utilization. And with the new campus opening, it will require us not only to review, but to adjust boundaries. Now, we're not going to go in and adjust boundaries just to adjust boundaries. We're working with our professional consultant partners, and they are helping us look at not only this year, not only 26, 27, when this new boundary will set forth, but also 3 or 5 years, 7 years down the road. As we know, we've been up there looking at our new construction project, and there's not a lot of development in that particular area yet. So we are looking at the forecasting models, and we're looking at how the boundaries would be affected for those forecasts.
Mr. Spolsky, just for the public, when you say 450, is that 6th, 7th, and 8th 450, and then kindergarten through 5th 450?
Yes, sir. K through 5 450, 6 through 8 450. Yes, sir.
And those are rough numbers right now, because keep in mind, the school will be built for 1,200. So you don't want to go do it straight to capacity to 1,200. So you want to be able to still have capacity at the school and still grow. And so those numbers could fluctuate a little bit.
Yes, sir.
And to follow up on that, Lewis is our only other K-8 school we have right now. What's their enrollment right now?
Lewis's warm body count, sir, I looked at it, was 575 enrollment right now.
Okay.
So the fourth bullet is probably one of the most important bullets, but I'm going to go to bullet 3 first. So I'm putting an exclamation point on the fourth bullet because if I was a parent, I would want to know how I find out more about this, right? Especially if I'm going to be impacted in 26, 27. So we have set a timeline, and I will be briefing the board members and bringing you up to speed, but we're looking at having meetings with our parents September through October. So we'll go out to schools individually, and you know there are 5 elementary schools in the north end. There are 2 middle schools in the north end, right? We have 2 K-12 schools in the north end in our high school, along with Southside. So there is 11 different sites that once the forecasts and the boundaries, and we have a scenario or situation from our consultants, that we want to make sure that all of our stakeholders at each of these schools understands why we're making these decisions. So the timeline, we'll share that. We'll set up a zoning website. It'll be a QR code driven, website driven. It'll probably launch this week with the timeline, okay? Talked to Mr. Mers about it this morning. I want to make sure that all of our dates are solid as we advertise these meetings. I already communicated with principals who will be hosting these meetings so parents can come and get the information through the September and the October timelines. If they can't make this meeting, they could make a different meeting depending on work schedules and things of that nature. I do want to say a long-term planning note isn't just the North End. Our professional partner that this board approved a contract with, MGT, is looking at the North End, but also looking at the Central and the South End 7-10 years out. And we, as a staff, Okaloosa County School District, it is imperative that we watch all of our zones very closely. Our superintendent was spot on when he says we monitor, we review, and we evaluate how those numbers look, because those numbers equate out not only to students that are enrolled in our schools, but also as they balance the Florida Educational Finance Program numbers. So we want to say, and we put it on the slide here, that as we continue to watch the North End specifically, if we think in our minds of those 11 schools, 6 of those schools right now have a different warm body count than last year. They're down slightly. That means the other 5 are up. So that is a very, very interesting region up there because there is so much strong growth, but you also take into considerations all the other things the board talked about today. If we got to a point, because Crestview has only one high school there, and if we look at Crestview right now, it's about the same as it was last year with enrollment. I would say that we might down the road, and I put it on here on the slide, the district will always evaluate. And if we get to a situation where Crestview were to be overcrowded, we would look at options, which may include a 9th grade or a freshman center. So we would work through that equation or that piece, not only for the funding, but with the communication and the rollout. But right now specifically, so that our parents are clear, this model is for Pineview, but will also positively impact all of our elementary, all of our middle schools, and it could impact Baker and Laurel Hill as well, with it being them K-12 schools, and they have students within the K-8 band. Any questions for me at this time? There'll be a lot more information to come on our webpage and also through face-to-face meetings. And as I post that calendar and I sit with each of you individually and brief you, if that's something where you have additional questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those for you.
So zoning is kind of like gerrymandering in a way. And the reason why I say it like that is because of equity. So if you look at our map now, it's really, if you look at it, you're like, wow, we got kids over here on the east side of the county go into Northwood, for instance, and you got one community that is zoned for 3 different schools. But I believe when that was done before I was on the board, it was more for equitable reasons. So I know that's going to play a part in that. So that's why if you look at it, and I say gerrymandering just as if you look at maps, it's not going to be a perfect square box when you look at it,
No, the company has provided us some samples, and I will say we have one zone that fingers out into different places, whereas the rest of them are pretty clean. Cones or circles or squares, just because of where they're geographically located, and we have natural boundaries, whether it be 90 or 10 or the rivers. But I will also say we've thought through that a little bit, Mr. Bryan, and that is we will run some simulations to look at all the variables involved.
And just for perspective, elementary numbers, other than Blue Water and Destin Elementary south of the Shoal River. Every elementary south of the Shoal River, other than those 2, are less than 600. Okay? Good, healthy elementaries in essence. The north end of the county, Antioch, 907. Bob Sykes, 742. Northwood, 768. Walker, 771. Riverside, 1,045. So those schools right there, with one additional school, they're going to get relief. They're going to get relief with still the ability to grow with capacity. All of us have been up north, in the northern part of our county, and there's communities being built everywhere. Okay? Then you look at Shoal River at 980. And then you look at Davidson, 1,091. And then you look at south of the Shoal River. So you have a Ruckle at 1,078, but the others, Bruner 661, Meg's 555, Pryor 645, STEM 303. So you can see Shoal, Davidson substantially larger than, other than Ruckle, other middle schools. So again, this is going to provide some relief there with still the ability to grow. You look at Shoal River, and you see all the communities that have popped up there and that are still being built over there. So this will still provide for that zone, Shoal, the ability to grow, but will have capacity to do so. The same thing, you look behind Davidson, behind Crestview High School, as Mr. Bryant really knows. There's communities being built there. This allows Davidson to still grow. You heard Mr. Spolsky talked about Crestview High School, and I get it. I hear build a high school. I hear don't you dare build a high school. I hear all types of stuff. We're just simply looking at the numbers is what we're looking at. We talk all the time about a high school of 2,400 bodies does not equate to 2,400 bodies being in a school all day long. First period, much less. Seventh period, much less. And the amount of kids who take full 7 courses or 6 courses or 5 courses isn't what it used to be with other options that students have with online and other opportunities. So with that being the case, we're still very mindful of Crestview High School. We do have the ability, we have space on the campus for a 9th grade center when the time does arise. It's not about ignoring Crestview High School in any way, shape, or form. If this board remembers, and I know you do, we were looking at the central zone at the same increase in student percentage as the north end a number of years ago. Central and north were increasing at 2%. We were prepared to do a school in the Niceville area. Well, that number has flattened. And so we did our due diligence in making sure that we have land for the future, and we have that, but we did not do a school there. So we're trying to take all of this into account, look at factual data, factual numbers, and then make decisions accordingly. And again, I know everyone doesn't agree with that necessarily, but doing our best for the north end of the county with a lot of growth.
And being the representative of that particular area, I appreciate you saying those comments, because the reality of it is at the elementary level is where where it's really the tightest. And with the secondary level, it does kind of, when you get to high school, like you said, even though 2,400, there's not 2,400 there at one particular time. And if I'm not mistaken, the average high school in Florida is well above 2,400 as population goes. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And just my closing notes would be, I think Mr. Vanchek and the other board members today, superintendent was very thorough in how we can market in PR. I know I stood up here a few meetings ago and said we're open for business, and that was strategic. When you think PR, the most important things are our people and our products that we put out. And in the R of PR, it's the relationships and it's the rigor, right? So if we can continue to forecast, to be strategic on those predictions, as you called a formula, but also make sure that we're exceeding the standards that are put on us from these pillars, we're open for business. So, thank you, sir.
Yep. And Mr. Chambers, one thing I'm going back to is you're talking about this community group, Champions of Education, and I think that's a great group to start with this information. Those individuals knowing this will be ambassadors for what we're doing with this and get that information out to the community. So this is very timely. I'm sure you knew that, and that we can get this out as any change. Always, there are some individuals who are not happy about it. We just, as humans, we don't always like change. But I think if we continue to put out the positives, which this is for our district, it's helping students, it's helping our big mission of educating students. I think the more we can do that, the better. And this will work great, along with even those student ambassadors.
Yep.
It's great. Thank you.
And thank you. And one other quick piece. I think Miss Lightboard, Miss 2, as you know, board, in September, American Founders Month. So we've always shared with you in this board meeting what that month is going to look like and the seriousness of which we take it in Okaloosa.
Yep. Oh, okay. I didn't know I was in control. Okay, beautiful. So September is American Founders Month, and so public schools are encouraged across the nation to coordinate instruction at all grade levels to highlight our nation's founders. We have provided lessons to all of our schools, elementary, middle, and high, in regards to the efforts that we're going to be recognizing this month. So the first one up is Patriot Day, or 9/11 Heroes Day. The federal government calls it Patriot Day. Our state government calls it 9/11 Heroes Day. On this day, we will be having moments of silence at exactly 7:46 Central Standard Time, which is the time that the first plane hit the tower up in New York City. So we'll have a moment of silence to honor the courage and selflessness of all those involved on that day, both those who lost their life and those who rushed to help. In addition, at the middle and high school level, there's also specific lessons that are supposed to be covered. They're supposed to last 45 minutes, and that's in middle school civics or in high school government classes. So they're supposed to be talking about global terrorism. They're supposed to talk about the events of that day to include the timeline. They're supposed to talk about the events that happened and the courage of those on the Flight 93 for United Airlines. They're supposed to talk about the outpouring of heroism and humanitarian aid and volunteer aid that occurred in response to the events of September 11th, 2001, and then the global response to terrorism and the importance of respecting civil liberties. So that's specific information outlined in our state statute that our civics and government classes will be covering on that day, The next day is Constitution Day, which is on September 17th. And on this day, all social studies classes will be teaching about the American Constitution. And last but not least, we have an entire week, Celebrate Freedom Week. On this week, Florida statute requires that we spend 3 hours of instruction in every single social studies class, K-12, to celebrate the freedom of our great nation. And so again, there are lessons that have been put out there. One of the biggest things about this week is that students and school leaders will be reciting the preamble of the Declaration of Independence each day. So that's a fun fact for that week. The elementary schools may have some dress-up days and so forth. We here at the district are going to be dressing up on every Thursday starting September 11th, dressing patriotically to support what our schools are doing. So the schools are in the process of providing information. They have a deadline of this Friday to provide information to Ms. Card and Ms. Demers about what they're going to be doing specifically at their individual schools so that we can go out and recognize and document those events and then share the information with the public and with you at a future board meeting.
And this is middle and high school right here, right?
And elementary.
on the 3 hours of social studies?
Elementary as well.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Elementary kids doing the preamble, nice.
So, yes.
Yeah.
Any questions?
All right, thank you, Ms. Tu. All right, Superintendent.
All right. And the last thing, as you know, we're in the progress monitoring system. So our progress monitoring number 1 is on its way. And just appreciate just all the work that is involved with that. And that's all I have, Dr. White.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, colleagues, that takes us to Section 13, Board Members' Announcements. And Mr. Heinley, let's start with you, sir.
Okay, I'm going to go on record to predict that the Florida Empowerment Scholarship will flatten out and not increase in the future in our county. So just saying that out there. So we can check it out in a few years, see what happens. I do think that the younger ones will always be, the higher percentage will be based on faith-based decisions. But I think with our great school system, that trend we see increase is going to flatten out. The second one, Mr. Destin, though he has a penchant for cynicism, used the word cog in the last board meeting, which I called him out, and I want to say that he used it exactly correctly for his analogy. Ms. Ivanchek sent me a text saying that he was correct.
She did her research.
Okay, tradition. Speaking of our founders, this is not our founders, but this is our 25th day. So who was the 25th President of the United States?
Dang, I forgot to look it up. Hoover,
Incorrect.
Coolidge.
Incorrect.
Was he going in the right direction?
He was going in the right direction.
Coolidge, Harding.
Hardy. Incorrect.
Dang. Roosevelt.
Before Teddy?
Right before Teddy.
It would be McKinley.
McKinley.
William McKinley. Who had a mountain named after him, and it got taken away, and now it's back after him in Alaska.
I think his biggest problem was he got shot, wasn't it?
He did get shot, yes. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Ivanchek?
Yes. Okay. All right. First of all, I want to announce that the Baker Gators won Friday night on the road in Vernon significantly, 48-6. So they're starting off on the win, and that's exciting. Also, their volleyball team, who was now they're the runner-up for the state champion this year and state champion the year before, are off to a good start with some wins, and I'm excited to get out and see those ladies play. All right. The next thing is on the foundation, real exciting event that I couldn't tell you about before because it was a secret, but through the foundation with the consortium of school foundations throughout the state, they chose students in the different areas to receive scholarship through the Rhoda H. Mulk Scholarship and through Raymond James Investments. And in our area, the 2025 graduate, the number 1 in our district, Ms. Tina Lee, received this scholarship. She's going to go to Princeton. She's already left, but we caught her the day before over at Choctaw, and we're able to present to her a check for $16,120, which is renewable for 4 years, so pushing up on the $65,000 mark, so that she can go to Princeton. It was a big surprise to her. She was shocked. Her parents were there. It was so exciting, and we're going to hear big things from this young lady. She's fantastic. And so bringing that up, it's part of the reason that was possible for us to go through that, because the check came through our foundation, is that we are part of that consortium of foundations in the state. And it's been a while since our foundation board has come in front of this board. I'm always encouraging them to do so, and I believe we're looking at November for them to come in, because I know that board members, you hear me talk about it, but I would like for them to come in and have them tell you all the different ways our foundation's working in our school district to help students and our teachers. So there's that. So we're planning it, right, Mr. Spolsky? And then the other thing is kind of on an important personal note. Tonight, the Okaloosa County Commission for the Status of Women will be honoring 7 local women for their Hall of Fame. And one of those women, all these women are fabulous, done wonderful things, but one of them is really special to me, and unfortunately, she won't be able to receive it tonight. We lost Miss Jenny Hamilton a couple of years ago, and she was a true mentor to me when I was a student, and then when I came back to teach at Choctaw. Her impact on students and many of our leaders in our school district today is just immeasurable. The things the woman did, many of the things that are celebrated, and the way things are done over at Choctaw High School and even throughout Okaloosa County, particularly in the South End, have the Jenny Hamilton touch on it. So this evening, you're going to miss me from this board because I want to go honor my good friend and mentor, Miss Hamilton, at this. So that's where I'll be. So really proud to be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ivanchek. Mr. Bryan.
Thank you, Dr. White. Just a couple of quick shout outs to some employees that are actually sitting in the audience today. Friday, I had the opportunity to get up at, well, I'm always up at 5 o'clock in the morning anyway, but what better way to start the day than to hop on a bus? And Mr. Gore made it work, and Miss Berry up in the north end made it work to where I rode with Mr. Joe McCarthy, and he does Crestview and Davidson and Walker. And we had a great time. The kids, all the students on there, very polite. The high school and middle school kids, yeah, I get it. It's 6:15 when we're picking them up. They weren't as rambunctious as they probably were in the afternoon. But I will just say that it was a great ride. We did have one student, we had to wait about 30 minutes before we actually did the Walker run. So we're talking. We take off and we go pick up the first group of kids, and this sweet little young girl comes on the bus and goes, "Mr. Joe, you kept us waiting a little longer than we normally," and Joe is like, "I'm on time." but it was so cute. The young lady, knew Mr. Joe. That's how they all addressed him when they got on the bus. So that just tells you how important our bus drivers are. And I know this afternoon, I was supposed to ride on Friday afternoon, but something came up personally. And this afternoon, I'm going to be riding an afternoon bus. I don't know which one, but Mr. Gore will tell me. But again, at the beginning of the year, the majority of our complaints are going to be mostly about transportation. And I would just tell the public out there that we have some great people that are out there in transportation, making sure your children are picked up safely and dropped off safely every night. And if you think about how many buses are on the road every day and how few incidences they are, I say we have a pretty good track record of getting our kids safely to and from school. So a shout out to Mr. Gore and his team and all the bus drivers out there who make it happen, the mechanics, everybody who's all a part of it. I also appreciate the north end, the garage actually got a lighting update. It was a lot brighter in there. So thank you to maintenance for making sure they got some nice bright lights. And I see Miss Ard and Miss Lamb are out there, and both of those ladies helped me with a parent. You talk about this is a business that we have to look at our district. We were serving a parent whose child was not necessarily part of the school district. And, to help this person, Miss Lamb and Miss Ard definitely went above and beyond to ensure, and again, every child in Okaloosa County is given the attention that they deserve, whether they are a part of this school district or not. All these children are part of our county, and I'm very grateful for the help that they helped me with, and I'm pretty confident we got this parent taken care of. So I see them sitting out there and say thank you very much. And Miss Ard was actually at a conference last week, and I sent her this message, and actually I think you were getting on an airplane, and just asked her a question, and she responded right back. So I do appreciate that. Just the other thing, moving forward, I will not be at the next meeting. It is that time to where we go as the Florida School Boards Association. We will be up in Washington, D.C. advocating for the state of Florida and public schools. I will just say that it's an exciting time. to always go and visit Washington, D.C. If you're a big history buff, like I know I got several on this dais that are, you know, whatever your political affiliations are, anytime you get to go walk up in Washington, D.C. and walk the halls of Congress, it's an honor and it's a privilege to be able to do that. And we are looking forward to visiting with, like we did last year, every single one of our representatives. I believe we have 29 now. So we were able to meet with every representative, both of our senators, and I say representatives, we might have met with their senior staff, but the majority of our representatives we did meet with. So looking forward to that. And just to shout out the first 2 weeks of school, what a great, I mean, it's just been awesome to be able to go and visit the schools and just see everybody clicking on all cylinders. Again, we do have the greatest school district in Florida, in my opinion, and it is our job to sell that to the public. And hopefully Mr. Heinley's prediction is right. I'm confident also that it eventually flatten out because we do have the best product for education in Okaloosa County. So with that, thank you, Dr. White, for allowing me the comments.
Yes, sir. Mr. Destin.
Thank you, Dr. White. Yeah, to piggyback off of Tim's points about the first 2 weeks of school, I've had so much fun getting back into the schools, seeing the teachers, seeing the admin. I know Friday nights in the fall are an awful lot of fun to do some visits because the football's going and everybody, but don't forget about Thursday nights because you will see the high schools are just abuzz with activity. I bumped over to Fort Walton last Thursday, took in the JV and the varsity volleyball team playing their game, popped over to watch the band working out bugs on the choreography at the same time, and then caught the Baker Fort Walton JV game, which all of it was happening. It was just its own little city in and of itself, just a buzz with things going on. Thursday nights are happening spots all over the district. I'll only say this because you'll see it coming tonight. Just to give you guys a heads up, you will see some honored dignitaries coming in, along with former Destin City Councilman John Stevens, who has been at the state level advocating for boater safety. I know he has been working with Miss Lightbourne and Miss Holly Chu about how we might be able to enhance boater safety in Okaloosa County. And not to steal their thunder, but he's going to have some folks who are from FWC, the Sheriff's Office, and the Coast Guard, so that just to make introductions and say hello, I think. So they're coming tonight, and we'll see them at the end of the meeting.
Dr. White, I have a follow-up comment just real quick. So we talk about spirit and all that. I will just say that my fellow colleagues on both ends of the dais here are now in the spirit of having that friendly competition when our schools play each other in football. And I know Dr. White would hopefully jump in there too, because Choctaw looks really good this year. So, and I know all of us play each other. I know all of us play each other this year. So the friendly bet is on again. So when we have competition, rivalry games, one of us will either be wearing our shirt or the competitor shirt. And I know last year when I went to Washington, D.C., Choctaw beat Crestview. And I knew I wasn't going to be at that board meeting to wear the shirt, but I did wear it all the way up to Washington, D.C. and walked all around the National Mall with a Choctaw shirt on. And believe it or not, I had several people say, "Go Big Green," so while I was walking. So
I just want you to know I have so much confidence I have yet to buy any competitor.
Well, I believe Miss Hayden did send out a request to make sure you had the right shirt. So.
Did.
But the bottom line is, none of y'all want to pay Baker because we'll run y'all over. There you go.
And I think that leads me into my comment to congratulate Choctaw for their win in football on Friday night, and Ms. Lightbourne to all the new cheerleaders too. You know what I mean.
Yep.
All right, so that takes us to section 14, public comment, and that takes us to adjournment with no notices. And so, Mr. Attorney, if we're good, we're going to close this meeting.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I was waiting for somebody else, so I didn't have to do it.
Okay.
Mr. Meyer, is this the last time we're meeting in this room?
barring unforeseen circumstances.
Never say never.
Unless y'all
We're adjourned.
unless y'all wanna wait to the next meeting, where I'll be there.
Never say never. That's right. All right.